Class is about to start.
I'm here for class.
Oh, sit on the couch if you want.
Okay, here, have a seat.
Hare Krishna. That's the great soul Brahma Tirtha in the background there. So you can offer candles and incense to him. So welcome to our weekly Bhagavatam class. It is Sunday, March 21st in Gainesville, Florida, planet Earth. And so we are going to begin with verse 110:23. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we have very poetic verses. Again, these are the ladies speaking, very beautiful poetic verses and very philosophical. Sava ayam jat paramatra suryo jitendriya nirjita matari swanaha pashanti bhaktyut kalitam nanvesha sattang parimarshtum arhati. So, again, they begin by saying savai, which means something like, in the previous verse, it was Sa'eva. And the verse before that, it was Savai. So it's very interesting. We have a series of verses here which are very emphatic, very insistent, where they're saying it is he. He's the one. And that's really what it sounds like in Sanskrit. He's the one. Sava ayam. Sa means he. Ayam means like also this one. And vai, indeed. So he is the very one. He is the one. And all the verses are starting this way. So if we're still allowed to use that word, these great ladies who are associates of Krishna, you could say are preaching, not in any ignorant way, but they are really not preaching. They're insisting on this point. It is he. He is the one. He is the very one. In other words, and so they're glorifying him in this way, and all the verses begin this way. Sava ayam jat paramatra suryo jitendriya nirjitamata rishvana pashyanti. He is the very one, jat padam, whose feet, atra, here in this world, surayaha, the godly people, jitendriya, who have conquered their senses. In other words, basically people who follow the regular principles. People who have conquered their senses, who can control themselves, who can keep themselves on the path of virtuous life. Jitendriya nirjita mata iswanaha, and who have also specifically conquered nirjita matarishana, the breath, their breathing. It's translated here as early controlled their life, and the word for word, full control of life and senses. So matarishwana, sort of a poetic word, and I'll tell you very briefly what that means from the dictionary, because I think it's because these words have ranges of meaning which are interesting. Let's see. Sorry, I must have spelled it wrong there. 1 second. Oh, that's right. We have to go to database. Sorry, I got all these applications open. Matarishwana. Okay, sorry. One. Before you ask for a refund, let me get to that. Somehow it's not coming up in the dictionary, so I won't waste time with that. Wrong time to call. So Savayam Jat Paramatra Surayo Jitendriya Nirjitamat, but who's conquered the life. So in Sanskrit, the various words for breath, such as Matarishwan, or prana, or asu. For example, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Gatasun Zagatasun Cha Nanu Shochanti Pandita that the wise do not lament for the living or the dead. So the word Krishna uses for the living is agata asu, one whose asu, whose life has not gone. In other words, whose vital air, whose life breath has not gone. And then gata asu, those whose life breath has gone. So anyway, I found this word in the dictionary. It's a name of it's identified with vayu, or the wind, air, wind, breeze. So it's actually a poetic expression here to use the word in this Sanskrit context, because Mater Ishwan often means vayu, the god of wind, or it means the wind or the air, or there's a series of demigods, there's a group of demigods, the Maruts, who control the wind and the air under vayu. So it's a poetic thing to say that those who have controlled their Mater Ishwan, if you look at this verse, in other words, those who have controlled their life, who can, in other words, it's not that life is controlling them. Like if something bad happens, then I get depressed, or I get bewildered, or if something good happens, I engage in inappropriate sort of excitement and take credit for it, or think that I'm the enjoyer of my good fortune. So controlling your life means, because life is unpredictable, it's Kali Yuga, all kinds of things happen. And so if despite all these things, we keep our balance, it's like almost like a man on a wild horse, where you've got to just stay on the horse. And so life really is just staying in the saddle, to use a Western image there. So that's what it means to conquer life, or to conquer the life air. Life air, whether it's asu, prana, or Mater Ishwan, a synonym for life itself. So pashyanti, so these people, these suris, these saintly people, godly people who have conquered their senses, who have conquered their very life, they're governing their life rather than being controlled by life events. They see, pashyanti, they see, bhakti utkalitam alatmanav, with their mind, as Prabhupada translates literally, their self or their soul, which is amala, free of contamination, and their soul, their very soul, or their consciousness, it has been, what would the word be? It blossomed, or has really flourished, let us say flourished by bhakti utkalita, which means something which is flourishing because of devotion to Krishna. So because of devotion to Krishna, their pure minds, or their pure souls, are flourishing. That's the idea here. And in that state, pashyanti, they see, Nanu, indeed, they see his lotus feet. And therefore, Nanu, therefore, Esha, he, the Lord, satung parimarshtum arhati, which literally means something like, he should be so kind as to, or he should completely cleanse existence, our existence. Satum. Sat literally is the sat is the present participle of the verb to be in Sanskrit. So sat literally means being. And just like in English, it's a participle which can be used as a noun. So in English, you could say, he is being silly. So you can use it as a verb, as a participle. He is being this or that, or she is being, or you can say a living being. So it's the same in Sanskrit. The word sat can literally mean being, like something is being a certain way, or it can mean a living being. And in the Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna says nasato vidyate bhavo, that which is asat has no bhava. And what Krishna is doing there, I don't know, how is that translated? For the temporary, there is no existence, and for the eternal, there is no non-existence, or something like that. But really what Krishna is doing in that Bhagavad Gita verse, I'll tell you actually what verse it is. It's in the Bhagavad Gita, it's verse 216. Where Krishna says, nasato vidyate bhavo. Of the asat, there's no bhava. So what Krishna's doing here, he's just, he's using the two principal Sanskrit verbs, which mean to be, or to exist. And so he says, for the asataha, for that which is non-being, or which is not truly being, there is no existence. Bhava, in the sense of spiritual existence, and na-abhava, there is no non-being for that which is sat. So it's a very interesting verse, how Krishna is using these two main verbs in Sanskrit for existence or being. But in any case, going back to our verse here, it simply said that so we have the word satwam. So tvam in Sanskrit is a suffix, which is something like the English ness, like goodness, or what would another one be? Happiness. Thank you. The minister of lexicon here. So happiness or goodness, so you can say, and so in Sanskrit, you kind of have that sense of ness with tvam. So beingness, satvam. So it really means kind of like the state of being a real thing. And so it can refer to our real existence. It can refer to a being that exists. Sattva is also a word used in the Bhagavatam and other places to mean just a being, a creature, something like that. So, but here it said parimarstum. Marstum means it's a Sanskrit infinitive to purify, to cleanse something. I think that's in the Shikshastra prayer. Sivigraha radhana nityanana sringaratan mandira marjanada. Yeah, mandira marjana means cleaning the temple, cleaning the mandir. So the word marjana, and here we have the infinitive marstum, to cleanse, and party, which is English peri, around, like perimeter. So party means all around. It's a way in Sanskrit of saying completely. So parimarstum is to completely cleanse. So the Lord it is fitting that the Lord cleanse our existence, our very existence, because those who see him with their very self, their mind, their pure minds blossoming with devotion, they see his lotus feet. Those who have controlled their senses, those who have conquered their life, they were governing their life instead of being ruled by it, by the random events of life. And these Surya, these godly people, they see his feet. Therefore, the Lord, because of his mercy, because of his power to purify, should fully cleanse our existence. So it's a very beautiful verse, and spoken by these ladies. So the next verse, 24, is Savayam. Again, I mean, there's this is actually very powerful. If you understand Sanskrit, it's very powerful. We have these verses over and over again. The ladies are saying, he is the one. It is he. And very emphatic. These are powerful, determined devotees who are just insisting on the truth. So they're displaying this enthusiasm, this determination to speak the truth and to insist that Krishna is the one. He is the one who is all these things. So here again, they say, Savayam Saki, and they say, Saki, my dear friend. So this is conversation among friends. This very elevated, poetic, intellectual theology is being spoken among girlfriends. So if you want to know what Vedic women were like, read these verses. So Savayam Saki Anugita Satkato Vedeshu Guyeshu Chaguhyavadivi Ja Eka Isho Jagaratma Lilaya Sajatyavati Tatra Sajate. So I'll read Prabhupada's translation. Oh, dear friends, here is that very personality of Godhead, that very personality of God whose attractive and confidential pastimes are described in the confidential parts of Vedic literature by his great devotees. It is he only who creates, maintains, and annihilates the material world, and yet remains unaffected. So Prabhupada says described in the confidential parts of Vedic literature. So, Anugita. Gita means sung. Gita, with a long A, means song. This is Gita, simply means sung. Something is sung. And Anu means to follow. And so it's a way of, when you put Anu in front of a word, it's a way of saying continuously, like one moment following the next. So Anugita means always described, constantly, continuously sung about. So what he's a person who's sat kata, whose pure stories, spiritual stories, the spiritual stories about him are continuously sung. So that's an epithet given to Krishna, Anugita Satkato. And then Vedeshu Guhyeshu Cha Guhyavadi, and they are sung in the Guhya. The Sanskrit verb gu means to conceal or hide. So, for example, guha means a cave, like a secret place. And so guhya means something which is to be concealed. In other words, something which is very confidential. And so here we have Vedeshu Guhyeshu, in the confidential Vedas. Because as we know, as Krishna explains in the Gita, some of the Vedas are just karma kanda. It's just business where, okay, offer these things to the devas, you'll get these rewards. It's basically sort of cosmic commerce. And Krishna criticizes this in the Bhagavad Gita. Actually, he himself says this part of the Vedas is not really the point. And he even says that Trigunya Vishaya Veda, that the Vedas focus on material life. And then in chapter 9, Krishna, of course, says that Trividya, Somapa, Bhuta Papa, Swargating Parthyante, that those who are Trividya, who study the three Vedas, which in this case would be Rig, Yajur, and Samaveda, and aspire Swargating Parthyante, they aspire to Swargating, which is the heavenly path, going up to material heaven. And then Kshine Punye, when their piety is used up, it's just like if they come back down. So if you go to a hotel and you rent a really nice suite, but then when your credit card is maxed out, they throw you out. Like, I'm sorry, sir, but your credit card is appears to have no further credit, and then you got to leave before 2:00. Hey.
You're welcome.
So it's just like that. Kshine Punye, because you get punya points. It goes into your punya bank account, and then you can spend it however you like, and then when your punya bank account is, overdrawn, then you come crashing back down to earth. So Krishna in various ways, and then he says, Kshine punye swargating partyante, even trayi dharma manuprapanna. Thus, by sort of surrendering to or dedicating themselves to the trayi dharma, the duties of the three Vedas, Gadagatam kama kama lavante. All they got for it was literally going and coming. They went up there to heaven and they came crashing back down because they were kama kama. In Sanskrit, the word wish can be used as a noun or a verb, like I want 3 wishes, or I wish for something. That's the same in Sanskrit. Or desire, like I have desires or I desire. So literally, kama kama means that those who are desiring their desires, kama kama lavante, those who were desiring their desires, all they got for their trouble was to go up and come and to fall back down. So therefore, here the verse says, Vedeshu Guhyeshu, the confidential parts of the Vedas, not the mundane parts, the Trigunya parts, but the truly spiritual parts, the confidential parts. And confidential in Sanskrit, it doesn't just mean that, don't tell anyone, but Krishna is God. Because as we know, the Vaishnavas were always trying to tell people this. Confidential in Sanskrit really means something like what we would today call advanced, like advanced knowledge. Because it's understood that knowledge is a pyramid, so the more advanced knowledge is in physics or literary studies, whatever, the fewer people know it. The more advanced any field of knowledge is, the fewer people know it. And because it requires more qualification, more dedication, therefore it remains confidential in the sense that most people don't know it. So that's really what Guhya means, like in the advanced portions of the Vedas. So Vedeshu Guhyeshu Cha Guhyavadi, and it's his Satkata, his spiritual stories about him are continuously sung by Guhyavadi, by the speakers of advanced knowledge. Guhyavadi. So speakers of advanced knowledge recite from the advanced Vedas they continuously sing his spiritual stories. So that's literally what it says. And he's the very one that's getting all this attention. He's the one that intelligent, advanced people are singing about. So Jaeka Isho Jagaratma Lilaya. And so the one who is, he who is one, Ya Eka, literally he who is Eka Isha, the one Lord. He who is the one Lord, Ya Eka Isho Jagaratma Lilaya, by his pastime, Lilaya, as the cosmic soul, or the soul of the universe, Jaganatma, just like Krishna is called Jagannatha. Natha means Lord, but Natha means Lord, really, especially in the sense of being the guardian. So he's like the guardian of the universe. What do they have, some kind of thing, Guardians of the Galaxy or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, theirs is fiction. This is nonfiction. So Krishna literally, Jagadatma is the soul of the universe, or the Jagannatha, the guardian of the universe. Jaeka Isho Jagadatma Lilaya. So by his pastime, Sirjatyavati Atti Natatra Sajjate, he creates, maintains, and destroys the universe, and in those actions, Nasajjate, Natatra Sajjate, he does not become attached. Atti literally means he consumes or eats the universe. He lets it go, he releases it, creates it, he maintains it, and he just consumes it, draws it in. So atti is from the verb ad, to eat, and that's where we get the word anna, as in say annamrita. So anna, which some people say means rice, and therefore they don't say this word on Ekadasi. However, it actually means food. And it's exactly like the Spanish word comida, which means that which is eaten. And so anna literally is the past participle of the verb to eat. It means the eaten. So anyway, and so imagine if you had to create a whole universe or lots of universes and maintain them and destroy them, you might become a little proud, I don't want to brag, but I just created a universe. So if you consider the scale on which Krishna is working, it's remarkable that, shucks, that was nothing. It's just, he creates the universe, he maintains it, which is not easy. I mean, here we are, for example, in Gainesville, trying to maintain one institute or get it set up, and we know how hard we're working. So to maintain the whole universe, because, things don't happen automatically. For example, your body is born, and it lives. You put food in your body, it digests, you breathe air, the air is fuel, and the body processes it. These things don't happen automatically. They don't happen automatically. It was set up that way. In a factory, things happen, you could say, automatically, because someone built the machines, and someone maintains the machines, and someone fixes the machines, and someone monitors everything. So if you want to call that automatic, knock yourself out. So Srijatyavatiyati. So Krishna is doing all of this, and yet he's not attached. He just, no false ego, no pride. He just does it. A remarkable person, to say the least. So maybe we'll do one more verse. Let's see. Oh, this is a powerful verse. The Sanskrit, when you read it in Sanskrit, if you know Sanskrit, it's really get your blood going. Yada hyadharmena tamodhiyo nripa jivanti tatraisha hi satta takkila date bhagang satyang ritang dayang jasho bhavaya rupani dadad yuge yuge. This is a magnificent verse. I'll try to do it justice in English, but the Sanskrit is just thrilling. Let's see. So I'll read Prabhupada's translation. Whenever there are kings and administrators living like animals in the lowest modes of existence, the Lord, in his transcendental form, manifests his supreme power. Prabhupada says the truth positive, with capital T and capital P, shows special mercy to the faithful and performs wonderful activities. He thus manifests various transcendental forms in different periods and ages as necessary. So let's just take a look at this verse. This will be the last one today, and then we'll see if you have any questions. Yada he, indeed when, yada he, adharmena tamodhyo nripa, the kings whose consciousness is darkness, in the consciousness of darkness, tamodhyo. And then jivanti, they live, adharmena, they live by injustice. They live by injustice. And by breaking the universal law, they live by injustice. So then indeed the Lord, Esha he indeed, Satvataha, from his power, from his own pure existence, Kila, indeed, he, Kila. Again, we have all these emphatic words. The ladies who are speaking these verses, they are, to use an old ISKCON expression, fired up. I don't know if that word is still used, but they are, I mean, they're using all these emphatic, expressive words. He, indeed, he is the one. And it's a very dramatic, dynamic, enthusiastic series of statements. So, tate bhagam, the word bhaga in Sanskrit is, of course, the word from which we get Bhagavan. And so Prabhupada translates it here as bhaga, as supreme power, which is a very interesting translation. The dictionary bhaga, because Krishna is Bhagavan, the one who possesses bhaga, it can mean, just give you an idea, because if you know Sanskrit, it sounds like all these things: good fortune, happiness, welfare, prosperity, dignity, majesty, distinction, excellence, beauty, loveliness, and so on. So majesty. So date means the Lord just, manifests. He imposes his majesty. It's very powerful. Date bhagam, satyam, truth, ritam. And the word rita is an old Sanskrit word for truth. So Krishna says Arjuna says to Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, Sarvametad ritang manye. I believe that everything you have spoken is rita. So rita, as in Sanskrit, as an adjective, can mean right, fit, apt, suitable, able. And as a noun, it can be fixed or settled order, law, rule, especially in religion, a sacred or pious action or custom, divine law, faith, divine truth. So you can see this word is really loaded. And so, and of course, the word satyam also means truth. And so tate, the Lord imposes, the Lord displays his majesty, his truth, his just that he imposes, he manifests the cosmic law. And in fact, scholars say that Rita in older Sanskrit literature has a sense which later is expressed in classical Sanskrit by the word dharma, in the sense of the cosmic law, the universal law. So that's this word. So satyam, ritam, dayam, mercy, and just show his fame, and bhavaya, for the flourishing of the world. For the flourishing of the world. He does this. And rupani dadat. Now, if you know Sanskrit, you have to know that the word tate, he establishes, now we have the word dadat, which is the same word. The only difference is date means he establishes, it's from the root da, and dadat is just the present participle, the same word. So he establishes all these things, or he manifests all these things by manifesting forms, beautiful forms, yuge in each yuga. So it's very interesting. Of course, you have to know a little about Sanskrit grammar to get this, but the idea here in the Sanskrit is that Krishna manifests his glory, his majesty, his truth, the divine law, mercy, and fame for the benefit of the world, he manifests all this by manifesting his own spiritual forms in every yuga. And so that's why you can see that if you know that the word tate and the word dadat are the same verb, just in the present tense or present participle. So we'll stop there. I know there are many Sanskrit grammar fans out there. So let's see. Now we'll go to StreamYard or whatever platform. Let's see if there are any questions. Thank you for your kind comments. Let's see. So far, no questions. Maybe there are no questions. Here's a question. This is from Brajendranandana. In Krishna book, it says that envy is the cause of fear. Can you please explain this a little more? Well, not directly related, but how envy is the cause of fear. Interesting. If you think and act as a pure soul, you are always protected by Krishna. If you envy someone else, you're crossing a line, and therefore you're subjecting yourself to future reactions, because the way it's said in the Mahabharata and other places that the dharma rakshito rakshati. When dharma is protected, it protects. When dharma is nourished, it nourishes, and so on. So dharma is actually, it's just like, that's actually where what's his name, George Lucas. That's where they got the idea that may the force be with you, because that idea of a cosmic force, which is active, which is not simply a passive force, but an active force, that an active moral force in the universe, comes from the notion of dharma by way of sort of mystic Japanese martial arts philosophy coming from India. So the idea here is that dharma is not simply like a rule written in a book somewhere. It's actually a cosmic force, so that if you violate dharma will reciprocate. It will come after you. And so therefore, if we envy, that's a demonic quality. If we envy, and so therefore it triggers a reaction, it puts us in danger, and it intuitively causes fear. Let's see. How is it that the 5 avidyas are created by Brahma if these are the functions of Mahamaya? Well, Mahamaya, in that sense, if this is, this is Devi Dham, this is the world of Maya, and therefore Brahma, in that sense, as a servant of Krishna, also has to do what Maya needs to be done. Even Krishna sometimes conceals himself or uses esoteric language in Shastra so the envious can't approach him. So to keep envious people away by Maya, even Krishna does that. And it's said in the Brahma Samhita that Chaiva Jasya Bhuvanani Vibharti Durga, that Maya actually moves as a shadow of Krishna. So Maya is obeying Krishna, and therefore to create illusion is also something that Krishna ultimately has ordered, so that the universe can fulfill its purpose. So anything else? Why is the Atharva Veda sometimes not included, the other 3 Vedas? Because it has some voodoo in it. And so the Brahmins, the mode of goodness, they were kind of wanted to keep it apart. Let's see, that's it. So did I skip any questions? Please, Nandalila can let me know if I skipped. I think that's it. So thank you all very much for watching, and I hope you'll all be with us next Sunday. So I now see, hit the button. Where's that button? Actually, where's the button? Am I trapped here for the rest of my life? Oh, there it is. Okay, there's the button. Hare Krishna.